What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. My name is Rob, and today, Nintendo is going further and further down the DLC rabbit hole. So this is always a touchy subject. The DLC conversation has been getting stronger and stronger and more heated and kind of volatile the last year, I would say, with the way a lot of third-party companies seem to be treating a lot of their releases. I've made quite a few videos talking about the good and the bad of DLC, when it's done well, when it's not done well, what I think constitutes good DLC or DLC that's okay to make and doesn't seem to be ripping off the consumer, and when DLC is the exact opposite and something that I think is being meant to gouge the gamer and kind of indicative of companies being really, really shitty to the gamer and just trying to say, we want to release incomplete games so we can get double the money from you. I think that that's a really backward stance, and unfortunately more and more people, game companies I should say, are starting to kind of operate under that structure. And what's interesting is Nintendo, as a company, has been kind of in this weird gray area where they typically haven't been releasing much DLC only until recently, the last year or so, beginning with this generation for the Wii U. Yeah, they've dabbled with it on the 3DS, and I don't think there was anything that was really DLC on the Wii. I am 99.9% sure their first console DLC happened on the Wii U. I think probably with Pikmin 3. But anyway, regardless, they've finally been starting to step into it. They've released very high-profile DLC for Mario Kart, Hyrule Warriors, Super Smash Brothers. And now comes the next discussions about Nintendo stepping into the DLC, which is going to be upcoming DLC for the releases Xenoblade Chronicles X, which looks fantastic, and Splatoon, which also looks fantastic. So the reason Nintendo has been kind of on the gray area with this situation is because a lot of people have, and I've discussed this recently as well, a lot of people have been giving Nintendo a pass on the DLC, at least the people who typically don't seem to enjoy the fact that a lot of companies and games are releasing with DLC and season passes and day one stuff to purchase and all these things. And again, for the most part, I hate all that stuff too. There are the occasions, I think Mortal Kombat was a recent one, where that stuff is actually handled okay. But again, it's kind of a case-by-case scenario, and for the most part, it's all seemed to be handled pretty poorly by those companies. Nintendo has been kind of given a pass, and I agree with that, actually. I think Nintendo has been doing DLC fantastically because they're doing the most important things right. They're releasing the games complete and, you know, worth their full value the day that the game releases. You know, these $60 games come out, and they are not broken. They have tons of content, and they aren't missing anything for their $60 value that day. And when it comes to the DLC that they've actually been releasing, it's all, for the most part, been very quality. Each DLC product that you can purchase is pretty full of content, and it's been insanely well priced. They are really underpricing and undercutting what their competition is doing, but by an insane margin. I mean, with the rare exception, I think I've said this before. I think Call of Duty actually gives a very good value for the dollar that you pay for their DLC. Yes, they give you a hell of a lot of DLC, but I think what you get is a really good value. I think Nintendo's been doing the same thing, where they're giving a lot of extra value. 3 new characters and 2 new cups with each DLC for Mario Kart. I mean, that's insane. Hyrule Warriors was the same. You're getting tons of new single-player missions. You're getting costumes, brand new characters, brand new weapons, you know, for all that DLC stuff. Again, for very, very reasonably priced stuff. And I just think that that's really great. Now, when it comes to Nintendo stepping into what's happening with Xenoblade and with Splatoon, I'm kind of, again, on both sides of the fence here, because it's really showing us that Nintendo is getting pretty committed to this DLC structure and the DLC nature of gaming today. And as much as I want to say, yes, they've done it right, and I've enjoyed the DLC, and any time any gamer company releases quality DLC, I think that's a good thing. I still don't necessarily want my favorite company to get so immersed and caught up in this culture. I mean, yes, I understand that it's a great way to make a lot of extra money and to, you know, when handled right, also make your fans and your consumers very happy, and also lengthen the length that the game is actually worthwhile and makes people interested in playing the game for longer and longer. And I get that those are really good things, but because there's this, you know, deep-seated, you know, kind of dark side to this whole concept where these companies are just kind of some companies are keeping stuff out of the initial game and releasing it later to just make more money. You know, Star Wars Battlefront is kind of getting caught up in this mess as well. Again, I've also talked about that. And I don't really love the idea, and I think a lot of people don't love the idea of Nintendo getting caught up with this as well. So let's discuss really quickly the pieces of DLC for each game. Xenoblade Chronicles X is an interesting one because it's kind of a lot of stuff that they're giving us. Here's what's interesting. Today is April 28th, and it's also April 29th in Japan, and that is the date that the game releases. So for all intents and purposes, here in North America where I am, it may be the 28th, but it's also the day that Xenoblade Chronicles X has released to Japan. As of today, as of right now, the time that I'm recording this, that game is available for sale. And they've announced that there are 7 upcoming DLC packs for Xenoblade, which is insane, right? That's like totally crazy. But I actually think that the DLC is pretty cool. So what they're giving us, the first 4 packs apparently are... there's 4 bundles that each consist of a character, 3 quests, 2 combat abilities, which are arts, the kind of special moves, I don't want to say magical, but they're the very specific move sets that you earn and level up throughout the game. They were also present in the original Xenoblade Chronicles. And you get a weapon or a mech blueprint, which I think is what allows you to create a doll, or whatever the new name, I forget now, for the mechs are in Xenoblade. So that's what you get there for each one of those 4 packs, those 4 DLC packs. Again, it's a character, 3 quests, and then extra abilities, weapons, and a mech blueprint. And here's the thing. The price that translates to American dollars is $4. So that is $4 in American dollars for one of those packs. Now, that's $16 for all 4 of those, which would be 4 new characters, 12 new quests, and 8 new abilities, and then 4 new weapons and mech blueprints. So when you look at that all together, that is actually a really fantastic deal, and that's great stuff because most of that stuff both helps you with your online component of how your character is going to interact with the world in Xenoblade, as well as giving you 3 quests for each pack, single player content, stuff that lengthens the time that you can play the game and gives you more out of it. That's what really good DLC does. And this is a mishmash of a lot of the good things that DLC can provide to you for an insanely reasonable price. I mean, one map pack in Call of Duty is $15. And here, for $16, if you were to buy them all, and there might even be a discounted price for all we know, if you were to buy them all, you're getting probably 3 times the content that one map pack for Call of Duty gives you. So the whole thing is, yes, it sucks that they're talking about this deal, and there's 3 other smaller additional support DLC packs, which are fine for what they are. Long story short, this stuff, it's not available day one, but they are talking about it day one. And yes, it kind of sucks to hear them talk about DLC that's available right away when you want to say maybe you should wait like a couple months before you talk about DLC or bring it out. They are bringing this DLC out on May 8th in Japan, and that is only 2 weeks away. I guess a week and a half, 2 weeks. So, at least it's not releasing day one. I definitely think that's a good idea, but the fact that it's available so soon is certainly a shame, and I kind of wish Nintendo wasn't doing this, but I also have to admit that they're giving us a great value. They're giving gamers and people who want to play and will be playing Xenoblade a great value, and you can also tell that this is the kind of stuff, and I've talked about this so many times, this is the kind of stuff that isn't imperative to the Xenoblade Chronicles X experience. We know that there is so much content and so much to do and so many places to explore and tons of people to talk to, lots of battles to have, weapons, mechs, characters, NPCs, this, that, and the frickin' other. There's so much to do in Xenoblade that this stuff, I'm sure the majority of us could go through Xenoblade Chronicles X, never even look twice at this DLC or spend a dime on it, and still get the full Xenoblade Chronicles X experience out of it. That, again, is how DLC is supposed to be handled. Your game needs to not rely on it to complete its experience. It needs to be its own complete package. And then this is additional supplementary material. And honestly, I have to say, I'm not trying to give my favorite company a pass, but at the same time, I have to because I think they are doing this correctly. This is really good sounding DLC, all things considered, even though, yes, it sucks, and I think it's kind of wrong that they have it available to talk about the day that the game releases in Japan. Of course, we still don't have a North American release date. We do know that the game is coming out almost definitely sometime this year. We'll find that out soon. So we don't have it confirmed if this stuff is coming out in North America or Europe, but it totally is, man. I mean, we know it's going to, and that's fine. This is why I think this DLC is okay, because anyone who doesn't want to deal with the DLC, you don't have to buy it, and the great thing is it's not going to hinder your Xenoblade experience. So I think we're all in a pretty safe scenario there. Now, the Splatoon stuff is a little bit different because we don't really know a whole lot about it. What are they calling it here? They're calling it, I think, support DLC is what they're calling it, or basically post-launch DLC. Now, we don't know exactly what it is. It hasn't been confirmed. There's no date, and What's good about that is it has the air of feeling like it's not stuff kept out of the game to release at a different time or release separately on the launch day and try to make extra money out of. Now, we don't know that for sure. We're going to have to wait and see how much content it seems like is actually in Splatoon and how much variety there is and what's actually being offered in the DLC pack, so we can understand how much content there is and how much it's supposed to cost versus what the final game for $60 is actually going to provide. So I have nothing but faith in Nintendo. I feel like Splatoon will be a worthy value and package at $60 without the DLC. And I just have no reason to think that anything but the DLC prices they will release will be very reasonably priced and probably have a lot of content. I'm sure we're going to get maps. I'm sure we're going to get maybe specific weapons, and we'll probably get, costumes and unlockables, things for your different characters, the Inklings, I think they're called, that you can actually use to modify your character. All stuff that isn't imperative to the final complete Splatoon experience. So we don't quite know yet, but Xenoblade and Splatoon are two very high-profile releases for Nintendo and for the Wii U this year. The Wii U is the system that is almost completely reliant on exclusive content, which is what makes it, in my opinion, the best system out there. So these are pretty high-profile, big titles for Nintendo. They're both effectively first-party games as well. These are big. Nintendo needs them to be successful, and the fact that with two of their flagship titles coming out in 2015, they're already talking about DLC, and the DLC is being discussed before and on the day of launch for these two games. I mean, it's not a wonderful sign. So far, does it seem like the content and the quality is up to snuff? Absolutely, and that's a good thing, and I'll probably look into picking up that DLC for Xenoblade. I mean, I think it's going to be really good stuff, and it's not going to cost a lot of money, but we could be, at the top of a hill that's going to become a very slippery slope sometime soon, and people talk about that. And again, as much as I love Nintendo, they're my favorite company, and as much as they are doing DLC well right now compared to the competition, that's no guarantee that it's going to stay this way. I mean, they may start to get the greedy eyes, and once they see that they can maybe make a lot of money with this, they may start to adopt some of the less what is the word I'm looking for? Legitimate, I guess, less legitimate or trustworthy practices that these other companies have been putting into place. And no one wants to see that, man. I don't want to see that to my favorite company. I don't want to see that in any company, really. I mean, yes, I don't mind that there's DLC for games like Dragon Age or Mortal Kombat, and hopefully probably not Star Wars Battlefront 3 either. I want to just enjoy those games and say, if I like the DLC, I buy it. If I don't, I won't buy it, but I'll still be enjoying the game. I want that stuff to be that way for everybody across the board, but especially for Nintendo because I love them so much, and I want to believe that they are above these bad practices. So right now, they're kind of skirting the edge of what's going on. A lot to figure out here. I struggled to even put my ideas together in this video, to tell you the truth. You could probably tell, but there's a lot of stuff going on. So I don't quite know how I feel, other than I'm just going to take it on a case-by-case scenario for now, see how it plays out with Splatoon, see how it plays out with Xenoblade when it launches here in the States. I'm definitely picking both of these games up day one. I think they both look amazing, and I cannot wait. So what do you guys think? That is always the crux. How do you feel about this? Nintendo stepping further into the DLC market. Two of their flagship releases for 2015 are, becoming heavily steeped in DLC. That is being discussed the day that these games come out, the days before these games come out. What does this mean to you? Does it make you upset? Does it not? Are you going to buy all this DLC, or are you going to shun it all? Share what you have to think about that below. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to Rule of Two Review, please feel free to subscribe, like, rate, and comment. Again, share your thoughts about the DLC below. Thank you guys for watching again, and I'll catch you guys on another video for Rule of Two Review.